Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 countries with the most beautiful soldiers in the world. Tanks, guns, and jets are all things that armies use to their advantage. But another awesome asset to armies is their women. Although there are generally less women in armies, this doesn't stop female army members from being and looking amazing. So be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe, and comment I subscribed and I'll try to reply. So, coming in at number 10, we have USA. The US spends the most on its army, and is now likely to increase with President Trump increasing the military budget to nearly $700 billion. As a result, the army is packed with tanks, guns, jets, and plenty of hot but deadly women. Women first appeared in the US Army during World War I, but mainly as nurses. Today, however, it wouldn't be a surprise to see a woman on the front line. There's about 200,000 women in the army, making up about 14% of it. And when they're not fighting for their country, they're taking amazing selfies and doing some excellent deeds, all while helping their country in the process. It's safe to say just these soldiers' looks are enough to kill anyone they go up against. Next up, we have Greece. While they might not have the biggest army or the most guns and missiles, one thing Greece's army do have is very beautiful women. It's mandatory for men to serve in the Greek army, and while this is not the case for women, it doesn't stop them from joining up. The Greek army is called the Hellenic Forces and employs some of the most disciplined and sexy soldiers. Whether this army is fighting on the front line or posing with religious figures, it's safe to say that Greece has one hot army. Next up, we have Russia. Russia has somewhat of a reputation for beautiful women, and this rep doesn't fall short of their own military. Their uniform are knee-high black boots and very short white skirts, and the women are all very attractive. But don't be fooled by their looks, this army is still very deadly. Many of these women are currently fighting in countries such as Syria and Libya, and while some argue that the army's uniforms sexualize women, others say that Russia is quite progressive when it comes to women in their army. They've had a long history of women in their army, with about 200,000 as of right now. However, the government are always trying to encourage more women into their armed forces, and even set up a Miss Army pageant to increase morale and recruit more female soldiers. Next up is Poland. Poland are another country with a slightly smaller army, with women only making up around 2,500 members of the army. However, this hasn't stopped Poland from recruiting some seriously sexy soldiers. Unlike some other countries, Poland has had women in its army for a long time, mainly down to lack of soldiers in general for the country. The female soldiers have the same responsibilities and rankings as male soldiers, which means while these women may be very attractive, they're also disciplined, very capable, and lethal. So if you ever come into combat with one of these women, try not to get too distracted by their looks. Next up, we have Australia. Australia is known for their deadly but beautiful animals, but their wildlife isn't the only deadly and beautiful thing over there. Female army members are used in and out of Australia and do an amazing job. While women have served in the Aussie Army since 1900, they were only really used as nurses. That was until the country began employing women into their armed forces out of necessity in World War II. Since then, women's roles in the country's army have done nothing but grown. Looks like this is one good thing that came out of World War II. Next up, we have Czech Republic. For years, Czech women weren't allowed anywhere near their nation's army, but much like Australia, they began incorporating women into their army during World War II. During World War II, women played such a significant role in their army that they were awarded dozens of distinctions and medals. They're now a crucial part of the country's army, being sent all around the world to help Czechoslovakian allies. Not only are the women in their armies amazingly capable, they also add a whole new sexy vibe to the army. Next up, we have Israel. In Israel, citizens are forced to join the army when they turn 18. This includes women, meaning that you get a whole array of beautiful and capable women in the army. Around 41% of the army is made up of women, and the fact that all women have to join up means that some of these women have special attributes to them. For example, the army has hundreds of soldiers who do modeling on the side, leading to some very hot soldiers. However, some members of the nation's army have got into trouble for getting a little too sexy on camera while on duty many times. But this doesn't stop the Israeli army from being one of the largest and best looking armies in the world. Next up, we have Romania. You likely don't know much about the Romanian army as they're rather small, boasting a modest 80,000 active personnel. While they might not pack the firepower of the USA or Russia, this doesn't stop them from having some of the sexiest soldiers in the world. And because there's only a limited number of women in their army, the ones they do have are required to be incredibly tough and agile. While other armies have helicopters, jets, and tanks to transport their soldiers, due to lack of resources, Romanian soldiers often have to travel long distances by foot with heavy artillery, meaning these soldiers are strong as well as sexy. Next up we have Britain. Compared to other countries, the rise of women in the British Army came rather late. Women began to become a prominent part of the British Army in the 1990s, but now women take on combat roles and fight all across the world. Due to extensive marketing, the British Army is now full of women, many of whom add a sexy edge to the army, while at the same time packing a punch. I mean, come on, you wouldn't exactly want to go up against these women. Next up is Pakistan. The Pakistani army is unique. It's the only Muslim country where female army members are involved in combat overseas. Women have played a big role in the army ever since Pakistan was established in 1947. They're trained to be excellent snipers, fly jets, and even parachute. And they're used just as much as their male counterparts in important combat missions, even involving high-profile targets such as international terrorists. While these soldiers do have extreme skills, they don't compromise on their looks. It's safe to say that these women would look good even when they're falling from 20,000 feet. And that just about wraps up this video. Check out the poll in the top right corner and you guys can vote for the country with the most beautiful soldiers in the world. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe.